So now we'll discuss how Storm implements the reliability in an efficient way. A Storm topology has a set of spatial anchors that track the DAG of tuples for every spout tuple that it emits. When an anchor sees that a DAG is complete, it sends a message to the spout task that created that tuple. You can set the number of anchor tasks for a topology in a topology configuration file config.topology anchors. Storm defaults these topology anchors to one task. You will need to increase this number for topologies processing large number of messages. The best way to understand Storm's reliability implementation is to look at the life cycle of the tuples and tuple DAGs. When a tuple is created in a topology, whether in a spout or a bolt, it is given a random 64-bit ID. These IDs are used by anchors to track the tuple DAG for every spout tuple. Every tuple knows the IDs of all the spout tuples for which it exists in the tuple trees. When you emit a new tuple in a bolt, the spout tuple IDs from the tuple's anchors are copied into the new tuple. This is a way how it remembers from which spout tuple a particular tuple in a tuple tree has been generated. When a tuple is acknowledged, it sends a message to appropriate anchor tasks with information about how the tuple tree has changed because of some tuple being completed in the processing. So for example, if you just focus on this diagram that I have on my slide here, if tuple D and E were created based on tuple C, and here is how the tuple tree changes when this C is acknowledged. Okay, C is acknowledged meaning it is completed processing in this particular tuple tree. So as soon as it is acknowledged, we have marked it with a cross sign here. Okay, so this is A, B and C. Now D and E are created based on tuple C. Tuple C, there is a bolt which emits the tuples D and E. These are based on C. So when C completes its execution, this is how tuple tree changes when C is acknowledged. Okay. So there are few more details on how Storm tracks the tuple trees. So as mentioned already, you can have arbitrary number of anchor tasks in a topology. This leads to the following question to us. When a tuple is acknowledged in a topology, how does it know to which anchor task it needs to send the information? So Storm uses mod hashing technology to map a spout tuple ID to an anchor task. Since every tuple carries with it the spout tuple IDs of all the trees that exist within, they know which anchor task to communicate with. Now we'll discuss some points on tuning the reliability. Anchor tasks are lightweight, so you don't need many of them in the topology. You can track their performance through Storm UI. If the throughput does not look right, you will need to add more anchor tasks to the topology. If reliability is not important to you, then you don't care about losing tuples in failure situations, then you can improve the performance by not tracking the tuple trees for spout tuples. Not tracking a tuple tree halves the number of messages those are being transferred in your topology. Okay, because it requires fewer IDs to be kept in the downstream tuple and hence reducing the bandwidth usage. So you can either set the topology occurs in the configuration to 0, or you can also turn off tracking the tuple by not anchoring the tuples. Okay. So now we'll discuss very important component that is being used in a STORM, that is distributed RPC. The idea behind the distributed RPC is to parallelize the computation on really intensive functions on the fly using STORM. The STORM topology takes as input a stream of function arguments and it emits an output stream of the results for each of those function calls. Distributed RPC is not so much a feature of a STORM as it is expressed using STORM's primitives. So from a high level overview standpoint, distributed RPC is coordinated by distributed RPC server, which is mentioned here. So STORM comes packaged with the implementation for this server. So distributed RPC server coordinates receiving an RPC request, sending the request to the STORM topology, receiving the results from the STORM topology, and sending the results back to the waiting client. I repeat, distributed server coordinates receiving a RPC request, sending the request to the topology for processing, receiving the results from the topology, and sending the results back to the waiting client. So from the client's perspective, a distributed RPC call looks just like a regular RPC call. For example, here is how a client will compute the results of a function named reach with argument this. So the distributed RPC workflow looks like this. So here a client sends a distributed RPC server the name of the function to execute and the arguments to that function. The topology implementing that function uses the drpc spout to receive a function invocation stream from the server. Each function invocation is tagged with a unique ID by the RPC server. The topology then computes the result, and at the end of the topology, a bold named return results connects to the RPC server back, and it gives the result for the function invoked. So the RPC server then uses the ID to match up that result with which client is waiting for that result, and it unblocks the client and sends it the result. So just to repeat, the client sends the drpc server the name of the function to execute and also its arguments. The topology implementing that function uses drpc spout to receive that function invocation stream from the server. Each function invocation is tagged with a unique ID by the server. Topology then computes the result, and at the end of the topology, a bolt with the name return results connect back to the server and gives it the result for the function that was invoked. So the drpc server then uses that ID to match up to identify which client is awaiting those results, and it unblocks the waiting client and sends the result to the client. So this is a high level overview of how the distributed RPC works with STOM. Now we will see the linear distributed RPC topology builder. So STOM comes with a topology builder called linear distributed RPC topology builder that automates almost all the steps which are involved in doing a distributed RPC. So what are those steps? First is setting up a spout. Second, returning the results back to the DRPC server after the processing is done. And third, providing the functionality to bolts for doing the finite aggregations over the groups of tuples. So let's look at a simple example on the slide. Here's the implementation of the distributed RPC topology that returns its input argument with an exclamation sign appended to it. So as you can see, this is very simple. When creating linear distributed RPC topology builder, which is over here, you tell it the name of the DRPC function for the topology. So I'm giving a name for a DRPC function as exclamation. So you just need to give that name, you just need to pass that name to the topology builder class here. A single distributed RPC server can coordinate with many different functions, and the function name distinguishes one function from another function. So the first bolt you declare will take in as input the two tuples. The first field is the request field. Okay, the first field is the request ID field, and the second field is the arguments for that request. So in this example, the linear distributed RPC topology builder expects the last bolt in the topology to emit an output stream containing two tuples of the form ID, result. Finally, all the intermediate tuples must contain the request ID as the first field. So in this example, exclaim bolt, which I have shown here, simply appends an exclamation sign to the second field of the tuple. Okay, I repeat. In this example, exclaim bolt simply appends an exclamation sign to the second field of the tuple. And linear distributed RPC topology builder, this class, handles the rest of the coordination of connecting back to the DRPC server and sending the results back. Clear? Let's discuss the local mode of DRPC. So DRPC can also be run in a local mode, and here is how you can run it in the local mode. So first you need to create a local DRPC object. This object simulates a DRPC server in process, just like how the local cluster simulates a STOM cluster in a process. So then you create a local cluster to run the topology in a local mode. So first you need to create a local DRPC object, then you need to create local cluster object to run the topology in the local mode. So now here topology is in the local mode, and also the DRPC is planned to be run in a local mode. So in local mode, the local DRPC object does not bind to any ports. So the topology needs to know about the object to communicate to. Okay, since in local DRPC there is no binding to any port, okay, hence the topology needs to know about the object to communicate to, and that is why create local topology function takes in local DRPC object as input. After launching the topology, you can do DRPC invocations using the execute method here. Okay, and this is how the local mode DRPC can be run. So using this object, execute method is invoked, and then I'm shutting down the cluster and I'm shutting down the RPC here. Now we will discuss the remote mode operation of DRPC. Using DRPC on an actual cluster is also a straightforward operation, and here are the 3 steps. First is you need to launch the DRPC servers. Second, you need to configure the locations of this DRPC servers. And third, you need to submit the DRPC topologies to the Storm cluster. So I repeat, so there are 3 steps for running DRPC on a remote mode. First is you need to launch the DRPC servers. Second, you need to configure the locations of the DRPC servers. And third, you need to submit the DRPC topologies to the Storm cluster. So launching a DRPC server can be done with a Storm script, and it is just like launching a Nimbus or the UI. And this is a way how to do that. Storm space DRPC. So this will launch the DRPC server. Next, in step 2, you need to configure your Storm cluster to know the locations of your DRPC servers. This is how DRPC spout knows from where to read the function invocations. And this can be done through storm.yaml configuration file. Configuring this storm.yaml looks something like this. So there will be a key called drpc.servers in that file. To that you need to specify the fully qualified host names of the DRPC servers. And finally, in step 3, you need to launch the DRPC topologies using a Storm submitter, just like how you launch any other topology. And this is how you need to do that. So to run the above example in a remote mode, you can do something like this, where create remote topology is used to create topologies which are suitable for your Storm clusters. Clear? So now we'll discuss the Storm's command line client. So there are a set of commands which are available in the Storm. So on the command line window, you can specify these commands to perform different operations. So we'll discuss what are the different commands available with their syntax, and I'll explain to you all each of these commands. So first command is Storm's jar command. So syntax of the command goes this way: jar followed by the path of the jar followed by the class name followed by the arguments that you are planning to pass to this class. So this jar command runs the main method of this class with a specified arguments. So the Storm jars and the configs in a Storm folder are put on the class path. So the process is configured so that Storm submitter will upload the jar at topology jar path when a new topology is submitted. So basically this jar command runs the main method of the class with specified arguments, and the Storm jars and configs in Storm folder are put on the class path. Okay, and also a process is configured so that Storm submitter will upload the jar when a topology is submitted. Okay, the next command is kill command. So this command kills the topology with name topology-name, and this is just the placeholder, Storm kill topology name. There is optional wait time in seconds. So it kills the topology with a name topology name. Storm will first deactivate the topology spout for the duration of topology's message timeout, so as to allow all the messages which are currently being processed to finish. Storm will then shut down the workers and clean up their state. You can override the length of time Storm waits before deactivation and shutting it down with -w flag. You can increase that time if you want. Otherwise, by default, it is same as a message timeout interval. Okay. The next command is activate. It activates a specified topology's spout. I repeat, it activates specified topology's spout. Deactivate is the next command. It deactivates the specified topology's spout. The next command is rebalance command. Sometimes you may wish to spread out where the workers for a topology are running. For example, let's say you have 10 node cluster running 4 workers per node, and then let's say you add another 10 nodes to your cluster. You may wish to have Storm spread out the workers for the running topology so that each node now runs only 2 workers. One way to do this is to kill the topology and resubmit it, but Storm provides a rebalance command that provides an easier way to do this. Rebalance will first deactivate the topology for the duration of message timeout, which can definitely be overridden by -w here, and then it redistributes the workers evenly across the cluster. So the topology will then return to its previous state of activation, and you need not have to kill the topology. So rebalance is a powerful command to spread out your workers across the running topology. The next command is class path. This prints the class path which is used by the Storm client when you are running the commands. Next command is local conf value. So this prints out the value for the conf name in the local Storm configuration file. The local Storm configuration are the ones which is located in your .storm folder, storm.yml, okay, which is merged in with the configs in defaults.yml. Next is remote conf val command. So this prints out the value for conf name in a clustered Storm config. The clustered Storm config are ones which are located in the conf folder, storm.yml in the conf folder. Okay. So this command must be run on a cluster machine. The next command is Nimbus. So Storm Nimbus launches the Nimbus daemon. Okay, this command launches the Nimbus daemon, and this command should be run under the supervision with a tool like daemon tools or monet. Okay. The next is supervisor. This launches a supervisor daemon. So this command should be run under supervision with the tools like daemon tools or monet. The next is UI. It launches a UI daemon. So UI provides a web interface for a Storm cluster and shows detailed status about the running topologies. The next command is drpc. It launches a drpc daemon. So this command should be run also under a supervision.